Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Ankerstar Wealth Morning Show. It's bright and early Monday morning. I somewhat have my voice back, so I was missing for last week. Thanks for all the guest folks that came in. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We plan on doing that more in the future, so you're not always hearing the same two voices. There's all kinds of, room for everybody's opinion out there, so thanks for the guys helping out. This morning, I have some topics for you. Mike's going to go first. He's going to talk about some of the favorite topics of his. First one, TikTok. Hey, I don't know what's coming there. So, but we're going to talk about some TikTok. You know, he's got a huge man crush on Nvidia's leadership. So he's going to talk Nvidia next, even though they're off a little bit, right? So they too, are human after all. And the last one, my favorite topics, Tesla. So Mike's got a little bit of information to throw out there about Tesla. And then from there, we'll transition to me and I'll talk to people's favorite topic of all times, and that's CDs. So maybe you like CDs, maybe you don't, but we're almost at the second half of 2024. CDs are still paying 5.45%, which not many people expected. So we're still playing the CD game. You can still lock that in for a year. So I'll show you some examples of what you still have options to do there. But before we get started, this financial education presentations, you have to do your own due diligence for acting upon anything you hear in the presentation. More disclaimer information is available at ankerstarwealth.com. And the opinions expressed are mine and Mike's alone. Mike, over to you. Let's talk TikTok.
All right. Yes, we got a nice age range here today, from TikTok to CDs. And I can remember when you thought CD, you thought I'm playing music on my CD.
There you go.
In this latest generation, what is that? I don't know. I don't know that they even know the other CD. I don't know they know any CD. But anyways, let's talk TikTok. So let me share my screen. And if you remember, back in April, President Biden signs a law to ban TikTok nationwide unless it's sold. And since I don't have a TikTok account, I was like, well, there's a big nothing burger. I'm not too worried about that. Maybe my kids will be, although I think there's a trend. For a while, my kids were all into TikTok, and I don't detect it as much. But I saw an article a day or two ago, and I thought, oh my gosh, look at this great article on TikTok called the No Spend Month. So Steve, there's a viral thing that says you go a month without spending on anything basically that you don't need to, anything extravagant. And it's like a money habit, cut out non-essential purchases. And I thought, that sounds like a great idea.
Right?
That's a great idea. I'm thinking for my kids, watch that video, do that, even if it's just a week, cut out fast food, cut out whatever you're wasting your money on. And then it came to me, Steve. The government wants to ban TikTok, and TikTok saying don't spend money on non-essential purchases.
There you go. Yeah.
There's the conflict. The government was trying to quash this because they spend lots on non-essential things. So it's head to head there. So anyways, I just thought that was a good thing that comes off of TikTok. And it's not that, anybody can sustain that forever, but it's probably not a bad idea to do it for a week or a month to understand the difference between essential and non-essential. And it might help you save a little bit of money and put back towards a Roth IRA, especially if you're a kid. So maybe if the government doesn't ban TikTok, I will create my own account someday. It's on my to-do list. I got to acclimate to X and Twitter first. So next, let's talk Nvidia. And I hit this on the weekend show, but it's so interesting, I just have to cover it a little bit more. So Nvidia last Thursday morning hit $140 a share. You were jumping up and down if you hold it directly. We do hold it directly in our JTech holding. It's the highest percentage there. But since then, so last Thursday, it becomes the largest company, passes Apple and Microsoft. And since then, it is down, 12, 13%, 12 or 13%. So the dangers of holding an individual stock. Now, if you'd bought it at the beginning of the year, you're only down 12 or 13% since the high. You're still way up. So I'm not saying that. The company is still fantastic. You know, for those of you wondering, Jensen has still not accepted my LinkedIn friend request. I can't believe that, since I give him all this hype. But this is an example of a stock that kind of peaked up to 140 and is down to 122 now. Now, the really good news about this is if the biggest company in the world drops 12%, we might see the market follow. We might see a big market drop. And so far, we have not. So that's what I see as the good news, because if we look at the S&P 500 just for the last 5 days, you can see that it's dropped just a little bit, not much, not enough that I would be like, wow, Nvidia is leading everything down. So I see this as a positive, not that Nvidia is going down, but a positive that the market's not going down based on Nvidia, because Nvidia clearly is the front runner. So I'd say that is good news for all of us, especially if you don't have a hardcore position in Nvidia. Is Nvidia low enough yet that I would go ahead and grab a chunk of it? Not quite, but it's getting there. It's getting tempting, at least. It drops another 10, 12%. We might be looking at adding it in on a discount. And then the last topic I wanted to cover is Tesla. And I saw this article last week. Tesla has slashed 14% of their workforce this year. And the stock is kind of bounced around. It's not like the stock has crashed or the company's going out of business or anything, but wow. And Elon Musk back in April said they'd be cutting 10% of the workforce. So I thought, wow, that seems so crazy. You hear a Mag 7 company cutting when things are growing, and we'll say AI is taking off. Where's Tesla fit in the Mag 7? They might be kicked out. I mean, if Eli Lilly could be included, they would be. But I had this remembrance. It was almost like, wow, did we ever hear of this guy Jack Welch? And I pulled up some information, because I remember Jack Welch said, you cut 10% of your employees every year. Now, that sounds harsh. It does. And I kind of was thinking about this morning as a person that's experienced these cuts. Both executing them and being in a cut, it's painful. And 50, 60 years ago, it used to be, maybe it was 80 years ago, you went to an employer, you worked, you stayed there, they didn't cut you. It was like a partnership. There was that thing called a pension. But nowadays, it's not that way. I mean, rarely is somebody with a company their entire career. Most people are not considering being there. An employee, theoretically should leave at least with 2 or 3 weeks notice. I mean, they should give notice. Guess what? Employers can cut people too. So Jack Welch did this. And as I think back, when someone gets cut, it's not always because, oh my gosh, they're a bad performer or they're not cutting it, or it's just kind of a ranking. But what you're doing is freeing up people to cross-pollinate into other industries, other companies, copying, taking ideas they've learned from one place and applying them to another. It's actually kind of a good thing. And even if you're in that 10% that experiences that cut, you never know what that next opportunity is going to be. And yes, if you're unemployed and it takes a long time to find a job, it can be painful. And certainly I empathize with that. But in my experience, I know many people that have experienced a cut and went on and accelerated their career at a new place. So Elon Musk and Tesla are doing it. Jack Welch, at least publicized the book on it. I think other companies did this, but I just wanted to give Jack Welch some credit since he passed away a while back. With that, Steve, I'll turn it back over to you. Maybe you can explain your TikTok account and where you're going, or CDs.
There you go. I don't know. That's a tough one, which to share with you. I will say it is kind of funny. We sent out one of our articles about, watch out for finfluencers on social media and what they're saying. But there's good and bad information out there too, right? Yeah, sure. There's the one guy saying, here's how to own 50 different homes and cash flow and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, kind of can't start there, right? And then there's other people that are actually giving out good advice like, hey, let's slow down spending. I had not put together the government's conspiracy theory like Mike had this morning. So I'm going to have to try to wrap my brain around that. At first look, I think he's spot on. I don't know if there's a correlation there or not, but what I do know is correlated is that we haven't cut rates this year, because who called that? Yeah, we did. We said, okay, everything seems to be going good for the Fed. Inflation's coming down. Unemployment, is creeping up a little bit. We're still right at that 4%, so it's kind of fine, if you will. So maybe we've engineered the soft landing, which we, from 2022 we've been talking about. So what's different from what we're saying in January versus what we're saying in June? Mike and I, stood before you in January and said we're going to take duration and go out longer. Okay, what does that mean in real terms? Is, lock it in the higher interest rates for a longer term, right? A CD only gets you out to that 12 months, sometimes 18 if you can find them. But other than that, how do you get further out on the curve when you think that the whole curve is going to be lowered, right? Which we know that's going to happen. We just don't know when. So what we've stayed shorter longer, if you will. So things that we said, for those of you that do hold several CDs, or you have money sitting in the bank and you're like, I wish I had put this in a CD months ago. It's like, well, let me show you inside baseball exactly how we buy these CDs for you. So you can say, yes, you're still able to take that money and lock it away for a year and get, 5.4%, 5.45 in some cases. So we're able to continue to do that. So as your CDs have matured, you've got another CD versus switching into when the CD short-term CD rate goes below 5%, then we're going to end up kicking that money over to investment bonds and, get a little more percent, but there's also a little more risk there. So let me show you exactly how we do it. So you search by state. So it does depend on where you live, because there are some tax considerations. I have a Texas account thrown in here. And then basically you search for the new issues. You can buy a CD that's already been issued, but when you think new issues, these are CDs that are coming out pretty much right now. And you can see I searched them by coupon rate, which is the column here, the third one over, if you will, or fourth one over, where you see that 5.45%. So the ones at the top generally are the shorter term. So I don't really have any interest in 1, 3, 4 months, any of that stuff. So I kind of go down here until I get to that, and I'll put it right at the top, till I get to that first year option or 1 year option. So I can get a 12-month CD for you today from JP Morgan Chase, a bank that you've heard of, not, Mike and Steve's neighborhood bank, a real bank, 5.4% issued for 1 year. So you can lock that up, and then again, you see some other options below that if you give up 0.05%, if you need to diversify for whatever. But I have no problem putting up to $250,000 per person into this like JP Morgan CD. You'll see that it is callable right there. So they do have the option to call this back. So when you think of why would I buy a CD in my brokerage account versus just going down to my bank, I challenge you, go walk into your bank and see if they have any 5.4 CDs. They don't. They may have something on some teaser rate that's above that, but a no kidding, lock your money in, you're looking at 4+ % maybe. But you get a little extra premium because you're going through a brokerage account. Nobody's skimming off the top, and some of them are callable will get you a little extra yield, right? Because you do give up they may be able to buy it back at the 6-month point. So CDs are still a thing. You can still ladder them out if you're a fixed income only type person. When you think if you're not at retirement age and not living off your portfolio, fast forward to when you are. Right? Say you've spent your whole life getting together $1 million or $2 million. If you want no risk, you can go right to CDs and still get 5%. So every $1 million you have generates about 50,000. So I tend to think in monthly terms when you're in retirement. So it's about 4,000 a month for every $1 million you have. So tack that on to Social Security. If you're a couple of Social Securities coming in, maybe you have a teacher's pensions. Those are still a thing. A few military pensions out there. All that stuff adds up on a monthly basis. And then you make the rest up with your portfolio. And that's, again, what you can generate without touching principal. And again, in retirement, you may start wanting to touch principal. If you got a couple $1 million, you can go ahead and start spending some of it down versus just, passing it off to the kids, if you will. So that's kind of a how you use CDs into a portfolio. They are still a thing. I anticipate that these will still be able to get well above 5% probably the rest of the year, but it's going to start as rates come in, the market's going to start down towards the 5% instead of the 5.4 that you're seeing. So, all right, that's all I've got on CDs. So you've heard a whole bunch of interesting stuff on Monday. You got Nvidia, Tesla, TikTok, and CDs. So you're welcome. Thanks for listening in, and we will be back with you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.